Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am Joey Francis, your life, love, and relationship coach. Thank you so much for joining me. So, an unpopular opinion of mine: treat dating like if it's your job. And I know a lot of you are probably already thinking, are you nuts? I already have a job. I already have friends. I already have family. I already have other responsibilities and priorities that I need to take care of. And now you're asking me to treat dating like if it's my job? Yeah, I am. I mean, even just on the surface of things, right? Going back to episode 1 of my podcast, what is it that you are ready for? And see, this sort of plays in to this whole treat dating like your job, because if your schedule is legitimately full, that you have a very stressful and time-consuming career, you have friends and family that need you, and you have a priority to them. You have other priorities, whether it be, sports or volunteering or whatever the case is, whatever you're into, and you don't have time to date, then how do you expect to build anything in the future with another human being? See, you might not realize it, but when you're actually in a relationship with someone, that person is going to take a chunk of time. Now, obviously, depending on you and them and, the type of relationship that you have and understanding that you have with each other, so that you both realize how much time that you can spend with each other. But regardless, whatever that is going to be a hell of a lot more than in the beginning of things, when you actually match with someone online, because we're assuming the whole online dating thing. And maybe not, but let's go with it. You match with someone online. At that point, you are essentially talking to them at your convenience and vice versa. Very few people actually spend time to have full out conversations, at least initially right in the beginning. And I mean like right in the beginning from when you actually match with them. Then you might talk to them for 2 or 3 days with sporadic text messages, and you move it, to the next level where you exchange numbers, and then you either send voice notes or more texting, or actually schedule a phone call or a video chat. Again, these are all things that are at your extreme convenience, because both of you are trying not to step on each other's toes, and you're trying to obviously make something happen here. But even then, you're giving as little effort as possible, right? And this is, again, why I say you need to treat it like your job. Because, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that go to their job and try to exude as little effort as possible. But I mean, they're not going to grow within their company. They're not going to grow. Like, if it's their own business, they're not going to, flourish. They're going to either fail or stay small. And maybe they're content with that. That's fine. But nonetheless, we're talking about dating here. Because if you don't put in the time, you're going to get nothing back from it. And it's just going to be continuous disappointment after disappointment. And then it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And then from that bad taste in your mouth, every time you match with someone, you're already visualizing how it's going to end, or the doom that's impending. And when you lead into something with those kinds of thoughts, you are essentially projecting what's going to happen, rather than actually trying to put time in and get to know someone. You already don't give a shit. You're already half-assing it, because it's not going to work anyways, whether it be a time thing, or you might just assume that, I'm meeting them online, they only want me for one thing. And it's like, okay, that does happen, like, let's be honest, that definitely happens. But at the same time, that doesn't happen all the time. There are very, very, very good people out there. In fact, I honestly believe that there are more good, honest people out there than bad ones. Okay. Like I call this the M&M problem. And the M&M problem is essentially, if I gave you a big bag of 100 M&Ms, you might be excited to like eat them. But before you do, I say, hey, listen, before you open that bag and eat those M&Ms, I just want you to know 5 of them are poisonous. Okay. 1 of them will kill you. 3 of them will make you unbelievably ill, like hospitalized. And another one will give you like extreme diarrhea. So good luck, right? Now you think to yourself, wait a minute, do I want to eat these M&Ms? I mean, out of the 100, it's only 5. So it's like 5% of the bag is going to do something to me. 1% of the bag is going to kill me. The other 4%, it's going to be like not very nice. Yeah. You know what? I'm not going to eat the M&Ms. And then that's where people end up going with this, right? Because they're treating online dating or dating in general like that, right? Because there's like the small few people that are either in a woman's, perspective, guys that just want to have sex, or narcissists, or whatever. And then from a guy's point of view, women that, only want you for your money, or only want you to take them out for dinner and experiences. And I know that stuff exists. I see it all the time, all over, Facebook and Instagram and everything myself, like watching other influencers talk about it, right? Where you'll see some of them say, to guys, don't spend money on the first date. Make sure that, she's interested in you. And okay, I mean, you don't have to be that extreme. You can find out if somebody's interested in you prior to even the first date. Listen to my other episodes, because I tell you how to do that. I can just tell you now again. Essentially, because you're meeting someone online, and I've mentioned this in other episodes, where rather than meeting right away, that you take time to actually get to know someone, right? See what their patterns are like. Again, if you're treating it like if it's your job, right? And I mean, imagine you are a person who owns a business, like myself. Now, because I own a business, when somebody messages me or calls me or texts me, right away, I always look at my phone. It doesn't matter who it is. It could either be, one of my friends. It could be someone I'm talking to. It could also be a potential client or a current client of mine. So because I'm picking up my phone and I'm looking at it, regardless of who it is, I'm going to respond, because responding, number one, takes very little time. I mean, obviously there are times when we are either so busy, not necessarily busy, but our hands are tied and we're preoccupied with something else that we can't respond right away. Fine. But let's be honest, it takes seconds to respond to someone, even if it's a matter of typing, sorry, really busy, we'll get back to you as soon as I can. That's it, right? So at least you've acknowledged, hey, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just, in the middle of something right now. Just like you would probably do if you were at work, right? If a coworker came and asked you for some sort of report or something, and you were in the middle of something else, you'd be like, hey, listen, I'll get those to you. I'm just let me finish what I'm doing. So why wouldn't you treat somebody whom is for the not work portion of your life, that portion of the life of our lives that we should be focusing on more, right? Why would you treat them with less respect than somebody from your work whom, probably doesn't give 2 shits about you? Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but still, it's a work thing, We are giving so much more respect and time to people from our work, to people that are just, outside of our circles, to other things that may not matter as much as finding a person to spend the rest of our lives with, so to speak. And then we ask, why is that? I mean, even saying, because a lot of people say it, I've mentioned this before too, I want to be with my best friend. I want to date my best friend. Well, if that's the case, why aren't you treating these people like you would your best friend? You know? And I'm not even saying that, you know, you have to like go the full 10/10. I'm just saying, you know, why don't you just offer them this much respect, you know, so that when someone texts you, instead of being like, I'll just get to it later, that you just respond right away because you picked up your phone and you looked at it. And very easily it says, hey, I'm busy. It takes what, 10, 15 seconds to type that? And we all know, we all have our phones glued to us. We all know that nobody is too busy or is that busy. Because if you are legitimately that busy in your life, dating should be the last thing on your list. And you should be looking on how to better time management and create that space for you to either take care of yourself mentally, you know, take care of your body, and obviously have relationships, friends and family, and of course, a more special relationship with someone that you could potentially live the rest of your life with. I'm going to tell you a story. Sort of more or less coincides with what we're talking about here. So I matched with a woman online and, you know, trying to talk to her, trying to get to know her. I'm getting greeted or responded with, you know, you'll just have to find out. You'll just have to find out. You'll just have to find out. And it's like, what do you think I'm trying to do here? I am trying to find out. I'm talking to you, asking you questions to find out. Okay. And this again was initially in the text message phase of things. Now, I'm somebody who gets really aggravated with texting, I guess. I mean, voice notes are just so much easier. So I politely, hey, do you mind if I send voice notes? Yeah, sure. You can send voice notes. Perfect. So I start sending voice notes, you know, just asking like, hey, what are you up to? Just out of curiosity, like, if, you know, you have a favorite restaurant, or if you could go to a restaurant tonight, which one would you go to? Just trying to get an idea of like the type of things that this person likes and enjoys. So I kept getting responded with, you'll just have to find out. And it's again, like, what am I trying to do here? I even try to schedule, you know, a phone call. No, not happening because she doesn't like the sound of her voice. Okay. So what, if we were to go out, am I not going to hear your voice, or are you just going to text me from across the table? And I even asked for a voice note, but that wasn't happening either. So it got to a point where I literally asked her, hey, why is it so hard to talk to you? Like, what's going on here? Like, why aren't you like answering me? Like, I'm not even asking like very in-depth questions. And I know that I can be that guy, especially like with all of this. Sometimes my mind just goes there and it's like, hey, like, what are you ready for? What are you looking for? You know, why don't you think you found it? You know, and I start, but this wasn't that. This was very surface level stuff, and I wasn't getting straight answers. I'm actually going to read you her reply. I'm going to read you her reply because it is that fantastic. Okay. And English wasn't her first language, so you have to cut her a little bit of slack, right? Personal meeting. Texting is for making plans or for fun, entertainment, conversation at maximum. This is starting to feel like pen pal mode, and I'm not really looking for that kind of subscription. The only way to start making connection or see if the chemistry is there, meeting. Other way, it's a fast forward track to failure. Now, those of you who listen to me know that I disagree with that. And if you're joining me for the first time, thank you for joining me. Here's the thing. She's not wrong in the sense that chemistry is important. Chemistry is very important, but love is not everything when it comes to a relationship. Chemistry is not everything when it comes to a relationship. Very simply put, okay? things you can find out within texting, such as, hey, what are your weekends like? Are you the type that goes out and parties with your friends, or are you the more type to just go to restaurants, or do you like to stay home and recuperate because you had a busy week? Like, what's your weekends like? Very simple question, right? But if somebody says, oh yeah, my friends love to go clubbing, me too, even though I'd like to find someone to settle down with, clubbing is still fun, and blah, 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 blah. Now you're somebody who's not interested in someone who goes clubbing a lot or drinks a lot. And you start to find these things out within conversation. Conversation you can have on your phone as soon as you match with someone or as you're talking to them. Okay. And essentially, I say that to her. And then she says to me, as if humans won't lie to you in conversation. I get your point. For me, though, no amount of texting replaces real life interaction. Disagree, because if we're just trying to find out information about each other, real life interaction or texting or a phone call is irrelevant, because you're just finding out information about another person. She's obviously referring to the chemistry, and that's where the whole real life interaction is most important. But anyways, that's how I know if there's something worth investing into. Look, been there. You are wrong on everything. I'm the one that's wrong on everything. Starting and ending. First, people still lie in texting. It's easier. Second, I've been in situations before where I've invested in everything that you said. Met guy, eventually, same person, same conversation, but no spark. All of this and more we could figure out in a 1-hour coffee date and not waste each other's time. I don't want to invest in something that I haven't met or seen. Fair. And if you're somebody that's like that, fair. Do what works for you. Right? That's what I always say. Do what works for you. But if you're coming to listen to me and you want some help and ideas, then, here are some ideas for you. Because again, a 1-hour coffee, right? So schedule this, time to get ready, time to drive there, and then spend your 1 hour with this person, and then go home and then, change and decompress and whatever. However much that time is, right? Versus, hey, do you use recreational drugs? Like, do you smoke pot, or do you drink, or do you smoke? Oh, you do? Sorry, not interested. How long was that? So you're talking about a couple of hours versus the 30 seconds that it took for me to ask you a question, right? And get the answer. Again, dating, like if it's your job, what's the most important thing at work? Is probably efficiency, right? Time is money. This is no different. Time is money. So I get her point where she says invested everything. I don't get it. I'm full of shit. I don't know what she means like that. I invested everything. What? Invested a conversation with somebody? You talked to someone and got to know them, and that's investing everything into them? That doesn't make any sense. Now, like I said, her first language was not English, so maybe she meant something else by that. And then she even said about, people lie. People lie through text. People will lie to your face, and I don't care who you are. You might think that you are like CIA level of catching liars, and maybe you are, but there's always going to be somebody who's better at it than you. There's always going to be someone who can lie to you, and you're not going to catch them. So that point to me is completely 100% irrelevant. People are going to lie to you. People are going to lie to you online. People are going to lie to you in phone conversations and text messages. People are going to lie to you to your face. You may catch on, you may not. Okay. And I said all this to her, and then she said, I haven't exactly seen you yet. So how exactly am I supposed? Oh, because I said, because she said that she wants to meet someone before, she doesn't want to invest in something she hasn't met or seen. And then I said, well, I don't want to invest in somebody that doesn't show any effort or shows me interest. And then she texted me back, I haven't even seen you yet. So how exactly am I supposed to show you interest through texting? To me, that's just nonsense. I respect your point of view. No, she doesn't. But honestly, it all sounds like an ideal theory that doesn't really work in real life. It does work in real life, proven. As for lying, trust me, I read people very well, pick up on things, blah, 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 blah. And then she eventually cut me off. So let's keep it simple. I get it. You're not interested in anything real life related. Not true. Again, this is like a handful of days, like 3 or 4 days worth of texting led up to this. So from those 3 or 4 days, you're not interested in anything real life related. Okay, sure. Until a girl will prove that to you, fine. I am looking for a person who will do more than talk. Remember that I told you I am looking for a relationship where I won't be a man. I'm sorry. Answering questions and being present doesn't make you a man. It makes you a human being trying to get to know another human being. So here we are. I have lots of flaws. I'm not perfect. Never will, but I'm not going to prove my worth. I am not going to prove my worth either. Okay. Fine. Again, this is how you want to do things. That's your prerogative. But would you say that shit at work? If you were sitting in front of your boss, right? And you wanted a raise, do you think that you're just going to get a raise without proving yourself? It's funny. I actually had a very similar conversation last night, hanging out with some friends, where one of my best friends is, he's a pretty high up there guy. And he even said that there are so many people that are coming in to apply for jobs, like management positions. And they're saying, I want top dollar. And he's okay. Like, why am I going to give you top dollar? I have no idea of what your skills are, because a resume is a resume. I need to see you in action. And he even says to people, show me what you can do and I will pay you the money. And he's a very fair guy like that, 100%. Like, I'm obviously his best friend, biased, whatever, but I know who he is and I know how he acts. And if somebody was to come into his work, and be a manager for him and show him that, hey, listen, I'm great. I'm going to show you I'm great. And then they show him when their first assessment comes up, he's like, you know what? You delivered. Here's your raise. Done and done. No questions asked. So we're talking about effort, the effort that I required. Now you might be thinking, yeah, she has a point. What sort of effort do you require? Very, very simply put, I want to know that I'm not wasting my time, right? Just as much as you do. And in case that she wants someone to ask her out. But why am I going to ask her out when I text her, I reach out, I try to carry conversations, I try to, schedule a phone call and all these other things. And I'm trying and I'm getting literally nowhere, right? Why am I going to schedule a date with someone that completely stonewalls me all the time? And again, through communication, me saying, why is it so hard for us to talk and for like you to just answer me? And then she said it. Well, texting is not meant for that. Well, okay. So the only time I'm going to get to know you is when I see you. That is unbelievably inefficient, because specifically in her case, she went to bed at 9 p.m. religiously. So that's obviously something that we'd have to work around. So that takes a big chunk of time, because, people work, people have jobs, people have, other priorities. Again, not having the time to properly invest in another human being. So, okay, fine. We're not for each other. But that's the point of treating this like your job and trying to be efficient and being open, honest, and transparent. Now, after that conversation, I would have been done with her anyway, even though she blocked me, which that's fine. No big deal. Because you can only do so much, right? And if somebody is not going to at least match your efforts, then like, what are you doing there? And that's all that I required. That's what was important to me, Show me that you're worth my time and I will be worth your time. Very simple. And funny enough, I actually had a conversation earlier today about that exact situation with another friend of mine. And even she said, there's no way that I would have stuck around for that long. If somebody was giving me these answers, then there's no way that I would have put up with it. And she's right, because it's not efficient. It's not like conducive to creating a relationship, to getting to know somebody, you know? And if you are not ready to put that time in or that work in, then you're not ready to be dating. You're not ready to start something with somebody, like, simply put. And all of this started making me think, okay, maybe there's a conversation that needs to be had prior to anything and everything. And I know there's a lot of people that have these types of conversations. So the two words that came to my mouth, that came to my mind were intent and effort. And maybe that's a conversation that we need to have with people, as in, like, hey, listen, you know, I find you attractive. I liked your profile. And you can start getting to know someone and then say, hey, what is your intent with, you know, talking to me? And specifically, not what is your intent online? What is your intent when it comes to dating? What is your intent with me after our first conversation? Are you still interested in getting to know me? Are you still, and vice versa, obviously, right? This is a conversation that you have together so that the two of you can figure out where you stand. Intent and effort. This is how much effort, I don't know if you noticed, this is how much effort that I put into this. And then, you know, you ask them, what sort of effort are you looking to put into this? Or how much time do you have for this? Because that all goes hand in hand. And maybe by having this conversation, it will make things even more efficient because it will clarify things. We are not young kids anymore. There is no, I don't know where I stand. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what they're feeling. I don't know what I'm feeling. Because that's all just wasting time we don't have. And like, specifically those who are in our like mid to late 30s who, you know, are trying to possibly have a family one day, but don't necessarily want to do it with the wrong person, then what are you doing? Then this is the course of action you need to take. You need to be more blunt. You need to think of it in a dollar and cents kind of fashion, right? Where the dollar and cents is, you know, your time and your effort. Because if you're going to start talking to someone and they're not going to reciprocate, or they're not going to give you what you require, well, then what are you doing there? Again, specifically, if you're somebody that's looking to find a partner to have a family with. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay. Was there anything else that I wanted to mention here? I think that's pretty much it. I hope that you understand like where I'm coming from and what I'm saying about, you know, treating this like a job. Again, it just comes down to effort. It really just comes down to time and effort. Because if you're not willing to do it, right, you need to ask yourself why. That's just what really has to happen here. If you match with someone and you start talking to them and they message you and you pick up your phone and look at it, and rather than responding to them right away, you put your phone down, you need to ask yourself why. Because even a matter of saying, hey, listen, you know, busy at the moment, I'll get back to you later, or busy at the moment, why don't you try me later if you don't want to have the burden of replying to them and you want them to reach out to you again. That might not work all the time, but nonetheless, if you pick up your phone and look at it, and again, we all have our phones attached to us at some point of the day. So don't give me that shit that you don't and you missed a message, because unless you're not getting notifications, again, problem, what are you doing? and maybe you just don't want the burden of it. Fine. Even if it's a matter of scheduling part of your day to date online, whether it's be swiping, responding to people, whatever the case is, at least in the beginning. And you're very open about that and say, hey, listen, I have a very demanding job. I have friends and family that also require parts of my time. I have, extracurricular activities. So I section off between 6 and 8 for this. While I'm like watching TV or something, that's when I do this. And just so you know, if I'm assuming you match with somebody, right? Just so you know, this will be the time that I can reply to you. And if somebody doesn't like it, then they can go somewhere else, right? And if somebody's actually interested in getting to know you, then they can stick around and play within the limits. And then maybe eventually, you get to know them, you like them, you guys like each other, everything's fantastic. And then you can expand that, because now it's no longer I'm spending this time swiping. Now it's a matter of I'm getting to know somebody. This is starting to get a little bit more serious. More effort needs to be applied, because like a job or a project, as things progress, things get bigger. Bigger things require more energy. It's just science. And voila. So if you're doing it and somebody messages you and you pick up your phone and you look at it and you put your phone down without responding, that's a little bit inconsiderate. Now, not every time, because like I said, your hands might be literally tied. And as soon as your hands are untied, respond. But be more considerate, right? If we were all more considerate with each other, dating wouldn't be such a burden for so many people. Dating wouldn't be a problem for so many people, because it's like, oh, you know what? This person didn't like me. Okay, that's fine. They didn't like me. No hard feelings. I wasn't for them. Done and done. You move on. You're spending your time and energy in places that are going to improve your life, improve your situation, right? Not take away from it. So if you are dating somebody and you feel like you're being taken advantage of, say something, like in my story, like I did, hey, listen, having a conversation with you is very tough. Is there any particular reason why? You're going to get an answer one way or another. And if you don't like the answer, then, walk away and find someone who's going to not take advantage of you or make you feel the way you want to feel, right? And that's just what it comes down to at the end of the day. Because if we do not voice our opinions and voice our expectations, even though expectations are the thief of joy, but if we don't do these things, then somebody doesn't necessarily know how to treat us or how to talk to us or how to react to us, right? So again, being open, honest, transparent, and being unbelievably extremely communicative. That's the key. Just like you would do if you were at work. I think I made my point by this time. Is there anything else I want to say? Not particularly that I can think of off the top of my head. If you want an update, if you remember my friend that was talking to that guy that was being very honest with her, that didn't end up working out. He apparently had some inner traumas that he couldn't get rid of about his ex and things of that nature. And he, let's just say, liked to turn to the bottle for answers. Okay. So that's the end of that one. I think that's pretty much it. Listen, this whole episode has been recorded in a different manner, audio-wise. So hopefully it works out. If you notice a difference or don't like it or something along those lines, feel free to message me go to joeyfrancis.com. That's joeyfrances.com. And there you can send me a message. You can inquire about my services. You can even buy my books. It just takes you to Amazon. I believe it will take you to your Amazon link, whether in the States, Canada, UK, etc., etc. And yeah, listen, if you're somebody that doesn't have a lot of time and time management is an issue for you, I strongly recommend that you purchase my guided journal. I mean, my book too, because it might offer you perspective in life, but nonetheless, my guided journal, because doing that will help you figure out what's important to you in your life, where you want to go, what you want to learn, etc., 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 etc. And if it's something that you can't do on your own, then that guided journal will be a massive help to you. So once again, thank you so very much for tuning in. I honestly really appreciate it. And let's see, what do I want to tell you this week? Remember, treat dating like it's your job and be unbelievably considerate for other people, because you are not entitled to have somebody, okay? That is not a right. That is a privilege. And if you enter any sort of relationship thinking of it being a privilege, maybe you'll treat it that much better. Be considerate. Love your man, your fellow man. Love everybody. Kill them with kindness. Until next time.